As you all know, nutrition is really important nowadays, and it's reflected in the fact that we have a separate goal. Well, we're not 400% sure that we will have a separate goal, but there's a very good chance that in the post-2015 arena, food security and nutrition will be a separate goal. Okay, another important proof for the fact that nutrition is important is the Zero Hunger Challenge. And one of the 5 goals is the zero stunting. So nutrition is extremely important. How actually can we implement this type of work? And I think the Sun movement is one of the most important elements in this. And the Sun movement is very different than if you look in the past of other important movements, which actually more imposed a certain strategy to countries. But the Sun movement starts in a very different way. They say, okay, we know what is essential, and we have a framework which help countries to actually put forward a very good strategy to reduce the level of stunting and acute malnutrition in the countries. But they can only, we only will help them if they commit themselves. So there's a different approach. So at the moment, more than 50 countries have signed on being part of the Sun movement. And this is a fundamental difference than if, so this is not imposed on them, but it's actually countries who signed on to being part of the Sun movement. So that's number one. The other fundamental change of other issues is that not anymore the UN is the driving force behind this. It's a combination of 5 different networks, which includes, of course, the countries who are still at the driver's seat, in the driver's seat. But then you have the donor network, the civil society, the private sector, and the UN network. So 5 of these different networks will actually be effective in a different way than we had in the past. So and of course it is not something which is straightforward, because in many places the effectiveness of a private sector network is not the same in places where it has not been developed as much, where market is not are not developed, like the difference between, for example, Indonesia or Niger, or Latin America, which have developed a lot of markets. So what are the implications for the World Food Programme to deal with this? Well, first of all, World Food Programme is not only active in the UN network, but also works together with GAIN and leads the business network, the Sun Business Network. So because we understand, as being one of the value chain agencies, particularly because of our expertise in the supply chain, that we have a role to play working as a bridge between the private sector and the Sun movement. So that's one. But we also facilitate with the Sun movement with a grant to support the civil society. So you can see that WFP is involved in 3 of the 5 networks supporting countries. So we have, in nutrition, we have developed some more, I would say, in detail support, but the principle is that we need to understand that that nobody is in fact in the lead. Very different in a couple of years ago, when definitely UNICEF was the big leader in nutrition. They're still extremely important, but in the Sun movement they are not in the lead. In fact, nobody is in the lead except the countries themselves. So the 4 networks to supporting the countries are essential, and WFP has a role to play in 3 of those networks, working very closely with our UN partners like FAO, UNICEF, and WHO, but beyond that too, because UNFPA, for example, will be part of the new UN network. IFAD is already a part of the network, and most probably there will be other, like UN Women, for example. So the idea that the classical idea that we only work with UNICEF on these nutrition issues is also over. Well, as you all know, the reality in countries is not always there yet. So it's a lot of work in progress. If you have any more questions, we in OS can always help you, and we will definitely provide you with more information in the next couple of months about the progress of the Sun and what our role is.